that the Kishak army has finally reached the gates and that your father, the king, has gone out to meet them. You leap out of bed and rush to arm yourself with a sword and leather armor, then follow the knight to the gates. I want my dragon, you say. What? The knight asks, confused. My pet dragon. I want him to fight too. The knight laughs. Dragons do not fight. They are wild beasts, like bears or wolves. They would not follow your commands. I don't doubt you, princess, the knight says. But it's not possible for a dragon to be tamed. They're too wild. No, they're not. You say. I've known one for years. He'd never hurt me. He loves me. The knight stares at you, then shakes his head. The knight shakes his head. You're too young to be commanding an army, princess, he says. We need to focus on the battle now. You stare out at the Kishak army. They are gathered in a tight formation, protected by shields on all sides except for the front. I don't care, you say. I'm ordering him to attack. The knight sighs, then nods. Fine. But stay behind the line, and for God's sake don't do anything foolish like jumping off your horse and attacking someone with your sword. You nod eagerly. The knight steps out in front of the line of knights, raises his sword, and charges. You follow behind him, but fall back behind the line of charging knights. The knights on either side of you do the same, moving out to flank the Kishak line. When they are close enough, the Kishak line splits in two to surround them. You turn to your dragon. Attack them. You order. He stares back at you, then lets out a puff of smoke from his nostrils. Attack. You order again. The dragon does nothing. The knights on either side of you are quickly swallowed up by the Kishak army and killed. Come on. The dragon stares at you, unmoving. Please, you ask. The dragon stares at you expectantly. Fine, you say. I'll give you a whole cow if you help me out. The dragon nods eagerly. Great, you say. Now, lift your head up. The dragon lifts his head up, and you climb onto his back. He takes off, flying towards the Kishak army. You swing your sword at the soldiers, killing a few of them. After they are dead, you land and order your dragon to attack the knights on horseback. He does so, and you swing your sword at the ones on foot. After they are all dead, you hear a horn blow. Cease fire. A voice cries. You turn, seeing a man in silver and blue armor riding a horse towards you. You've won, the man says. We're retreating. Let us go, and we will not attack you again. You invaded my kingdom, you say. I'm not going to let you retreat. The man sighs, then pulls a silver whistle from his pocket and blows into it. That was a signal to retreat, the man says. I'm not going to sit here and let you kill me. If you want to kill me, you'll have to catch me. The man spurs his horse into a gallop, charging across the battlefield and away from you. Stop him. You yell to your soldiers. The dragon takes flight, flapping its wings and gaining altitude. It soars through the air after the man, who sees it coming and turns his horse around. The dragon is faster than the horse, and quickly it is right behind the man and its rider. You point at the man and breathe fire at him. The flames engulf him, and he screams as his skin burns. The dragon snaps its jaws down on the horse's head, biting it off. The horse collapses, and the man falls to the ground with a thud. You hop off of the dragon and walk up to the man. He looks up at you and screams, "Don't kill me." "I'm not going to kill you," you say. "I'm just going to take you back to my palace, where you will be my prisoner for the rest of your life." The man sobs in terror, and you drag him over to your horse. You climb onto the horse, pulling the man up behind you. You ride back to your palace, where you throw the man in a cell and leave him there, under guard. The next day, you send out riders to return to their homes. They are grateful, and thank you for saving their lives. "It was nothing, it was my dragon who saved the day," you say. "Without him, Kishak would have destroyed everything." The soldiers cheer for their dragon as well, and one of them says, "He's right. The dragon is the best thing that's happened to this kingdom." "We should give him a name," another one says. You smile and think of a name for your dragon. What will you name him? His name is Epona, you say. What kind of a name is that? One of the soldiers says, "It's a girl's name." "It's my dragon, so it's my choice," you say. "Fine, do what you want," the soldier says. "I'm going to celebrate my victory with some wine." You give your dragon a few cows, and he happily gulps them down. You pat him on the head, and he looks up at you with a smile. You hop onto his back, and the two of you take flight around your kingdom. You fly over the fields of wheat, over the mountains, over the forests, over everything you own. You fly over the forests, mountains, and fields. You spot a lake to the east of your kingdom, and land on a cliff by it. You walk to the edge of the cliff and peer over it. There's a river flowing out of the lake, winding through the forest. You walk into the forest, looking around. You spot a clearing up ahead, with a large oak tree in the center. You walk into the clearing and approach the oak tree. You run your hand along its rough bark, feeling the ridges under your fingers. You feel a sudden impact, and yank your hand away. "So strange to be without a limb," a voice says. You turn around, and see a beautiful woman standing behind you. She smiles at you, and you feel strangely compelled to smile back. "Who are you?" you ask. "I am Gwen," she says. "The tree is my father." "My father," she says. "I know he doesn't look like it now, but he was once human. Just like you." "How do you know I'm human?" you ask. "I can just tell, silly," Gwen says. "Greater than you say no, I'm a dragonborn." "I'm sorry," Gwen says. "I can't hear you." You open your mouth to repeat what you said, but you find that you're unable to speak. You try to take a step forward, but find that you're unable to move. You open your mouth to scream, but all that comes out is a choked gasp. You send out a desperate call for help into your mind, but there's no response. "Ah, you're a dragon," Gwen says. "I suppose that would make sense. Most people don't just scream for no reason." Gwen walks forward and traces her fingers along the outline of your body as you struggle against an enemy you can't see. You take a deep breath and exhale, unleashing a stream of fire. "Ah," Gwen says. "I'm sorry, but I can't hear you." The flames go out as the oxygen is consumed, and you take a deep breath. "I said I can't hear you," Gwen says. You close your eyes and concentrate, willing yourself to return to your castle. "I can't hear you," Gwen says. You open your eyes, and find yourself in the same place. "Ah, you're still here," Gwen says. "I thought you'd left." You try to scream, but nothing comes out. "I'm sorry," Gwen says. "I can't hear you." You scream as loud as you can, but nothing comes out. "Ah, I'm sorry," Gwen says. "I still can't hear you." Gwen walks away from you, and you struggle against your invisible bonds. "I'm sorry," Gwen says. "I can't hear you." You scream as loud as you can, but nothing comes out. "Ah, I'm sorry," Gwen says. "I still can't hear you." Gwen walks away from you, and you struggle against your invisible bonds. "I'm sorry." "I can't hear you," Gwen says. You scream as loud as you can, but nothing comes out. "Ah, I'm sorry," Gwen says. "I still can't hear you." Gwen walks away from you, and you struggle against your invisible bonds. "I'm sorry," Gwen says. And your body falls to the ground. "I can't hear you," Gwen says. You scream as loud as you can, but nothing comes out. "Ah, I'm sorry," Gwen says. "I still can't hear you." Gwen walks away from you, and you struggle against your invisible bonds. "I'm sorry," Gwen says. You fly back to your castle, where you find your wife sitting in the throne room. "Hello, my love," she says. "Did you have fun playing with your little dragon?" "I did," you say. "I also ran into a strange woman." "Oh?" You describe Gwen to her, and her face darkens. "Gwen?" your wife asks. "She's a forest spirit. She takes the form of a beautiful young girl, and tries to lure men into her arms so she can kill them. There used to be many of them, but we've hunted them into extinction." "Yes, it was," your wife says. You kiss her, and she kisses you back. "I love you," she says. "I love you," you reply. You spend the rest of the day with your wife, not leaving the castle. The next day, you head down to the dragon stables to see Epona.